Hello and welcome to the TRBusiness video channel. I'm delighted to be joined here today by Dag Rasmussen. He's the Chairman and CEO of Lagardère Travel Retail, and Ambroise Fondeur, Chief Business Officer of Lagardère Travel Retail. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Luc.
I want to begin by just looking at the first half. You've had a strong sales performance, good growth, network expansion, and developments across all three business lines. Just tell me, Dag, to begin, what your expectations are moving into the fourth quarter.
Well, the expectations are positive. We have lots of new things coming on. We have Geneva, which is opening next week, the new store in duty-free Geneva. We have Venice, which just opened with great results. You also know that we made a significant acquisition this summer, which we hope to close towards the end of October. So lots of new stuff happening, and the organic business is going well. So I hope it should be good.
You mentioned Geneva, Dag. Tell me, Ambroise, a little bit about the ambition there. Obviously, you've got the earlier next generation model. What can the consumer expect?
So we took over Geneva 1 year ago, actually, and what will happen next week is the finalization of the refurbishment program with the opening of the main store, 800 square meter store on the departing, under the Alia duty-free concept, with a very strong focus on the sense of place, and you will be able to see next week, starting next week, a really strong focus on the localness, local design, local products, local brands. So we think and we hope it will be exciting for the Geneva passengers.
Fantastic. And indeed, Dag, we've seen strong tailwinds in the European and Asia business, particularly in this particular period. Just tell us a little bit about how important that is for growth across all three segments, and crucially, do you feel that will last, the growth?
Yeah, we think growth will last, definitely. There can be bumps here and there, but the long-term forecast for passenger growth is very good. Spend per pax can be a challenge, we know that, because if you take the European case, for instance, 100% of traffic growth is low cost, and although we make lots of efforts to cater for their needs, they usually don't spend as much as Chinese passengers, for instance. So I would say we have decreasing returns, but increasing sales.
And I just want to touch on your home market, and obviously you've had a strong performance there too. It must be very encouraging, given all the network expansion going on in other parts of the world.
Yeah, well, France has been a bit of an issue in the first half because of strikes, both SNCF and Air France, so it's been a bit of a challenge, but yeah, the underlying activity is good. We think that if you want to be good in your business, you have to get every euro of every store you run. So yes, we are concentrated on development, but the whole team is also very concentrated on how to drive organic growth as high as possible. And if we only succeeded in external development, I wouldn't think it's a success.
Just want to drill down a little bit more into the development in your specific segments. Now, obviously, travel essentials has performed particularly well. It's accounting for a larger share of total sales. You had some very, very positive innovations recently. The All Black store, New Zealand, obviously TripAdvisor, and the continued development of Relay. Just give us a bit of a flavour moving into next year, where you want to position travel essentials in relation to the fashion and duty-free offer, and do you see it eventually actually leaving some gap between?
I wouldn't say there's a gap. I would say the success for us of Travel Essentials is that we went from a product-oriented strategy, which was essentially news and convenience, to a consumer-oriented strategy. What does the consumer want? And it happens that the famous low-cost passengers, for instance, are much more into Travel Essentials than duty-free. In many airports, Travel Essentials has twice the penetration of the duty-free stores. So we managed to answer to the needs of many more customers. So we think the growth is there, and what we try, obviously we have Relay, which is a great brand, but the passenger doesn't want to see only Relay. So we are innovative. Our US team got the TripAdvisor license, for instance, which we then exported to Hong Kong and which we proposed to other landlords as well. Very good response. All Blacks is a great example. I mean, the store is just fantastic, and it's something really unique in Auckland. It makes a difference. So we think, that duty-free and fashion, travel essentials and food service is a global strategy, and it helps us cater for all needs.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about, obviously, the UK continued uncertainty regarding the Brexit situation. Obviously, we're still no clearer at this point to working out whether there'll be a deal or no deal, as it were. That must obviously cast a lot of doubt on your future plans for next year. How are you responding?
Well, not really. What I can say is, our analysis is that obviously it can have a risk on passengers. There's the flight impact of it. This will be solved. I cannot imagine that flights stop completely. So for the business, it's positive. Something which is duty paid will become duty free. That creates value. So the position we take is that the UK should come with a budget excluding Brexit and have a scenario upside with Brexit. So that's how we work on it. It's just two possibilities, and it doesn't make any sense spending too much time on imagining will it happen or not. It's just two scenarios.
Well, we're going to see how that plays out in the coming months.
Yes.
I just want to turn to Arrival's duty-free potential in the Eurasian Economic Union. I wanted to talk about what your view is on that business, the opportunity, the nascent opportunity.
Well, the opportunity would be if EU decided to accept duty-free on arrivals, which is not the case. So today it's not an opportunity. I think EU is losing business there, and I don't really understand why, because you see that all countries around EU accept and develop duty-free on arrival. So it's a competitive disadvantage to us.
Okay. I wanted to, on that note of arrivals, talk about South Korea.
Yeah.
Now, obviously we've seen the development in the past week that the government have moved to permit the first store opening at Incheon. And that will undergo a process of about 6 months for a test trial. So the understanding at the moment is that will be pegged to around $600 for the arrivals limit. What do you see this market as sort of developing in the future? Do you see it as a threat, a fundamental threat to the international business operators?
I wouldn't call it a threat, I would call it a challenge. Our point is we have the best flow of passengers we could dream about. So our idea is to get the best possible out of these passengers, to attract them with the best trained staff, with best digital tools to help the staff, with the best products, sense of place, so that they want to buy in our stores. But obviously, those who are purely price-oriented or who thinks it's easier to buy on arrivals will do so. So it's a challenge. It will create, there will be some transfer from departure duty-free to arrival, so it's not good news. But we have to work harder.
So it's a healthy development in terms of the overall industry?
Well, it's healthy globally for the industry, probably. But it's, once again, if we had it in the EU, it would be fair play, which is not the case.
Okay. I wanted to just move back to Europe now and talk about Vienna. Now, obviously, the new fashion gallery contract that they do. So, Ambroise, take us through some of the mechanics of that business. It's presumably going to play and build on what has already been a successful concept. But tell me a little bit more about how you're going to increase penetration and tailor the offer to a passenger profile that will be changing given the developments at Vienna, at the old terminal.
So first, just if we step back a little bit, what is very interesting about Vienna, this is really a success of our 3 business line strategy, as we have been operating in Vienna for quite a long time actually under the food service segment. And through the relationship that we have with the landlord and through the expertise that we have developed at the group level on the other business lines, namely on the fashion business line, we are able to work with the landlord to make this opportunity arise and become concrete. So first, it's a very good news, and we really thank the Vienna Airport for this opportunity to develop further than just food service at the airport. We will be opening second quarter of next year. Yes, a fashion gallery, approximately 1,000 square meter, where we will present a multi-brand offer with both, corner brands in three-wall presentation, as well as strong animation. What is very, very interesting is that we have been able to work again with the landlord in order to optimize the layout and the positioning of this location, which will be right after a major walkthrough. So we will benefit from 100% of the flow, which again for fashion is critical because fashion is traditionally a category that is that needs a lot of traffic in order to be successful. So we will be able to have that, and we have created a concept that is very open. So very well located and very open, so that the traffic can really look at and understand the different offer and take advantage of that.
The critical facet will obviously be the multimodal, if you will, retail setup and central walkthrough, that will actually benefit from 100% of the flow. Talk to me a little bit about, obviously, in regards to the food service offering that you've been strong in. A critical challenge that travel retail faces is obviously increasing spend per head. Food service and F&B is playing a very important role in that, and we're seeing, particularly in Europe, more of a centering of a holistic offer that embeds retail and F&B into almost like market style type layouts. And just talk to me a little bit about the importance of the adjacency, I guess, of F&B with retail in order to actually drive customers into the stores.
Yeah, going back to what Dag was saying at the introduction, for sure food service today is a very important category for airports, as traffic growth is generated by low cost in many of the country of the platforms, and low cost passengers, what they expect first is the ability to eat or to buy food before they enter the plane. So it is a very important category, and it is a thriving category actually in travel retail. For sure, there's a lot of synergies that can happen depending on where you locate the food service. It's a case-by-case approach, however, because depending on the type of segment of food service that you want to develop, whether you want to develop quick service restaurant, whether you want to develop casual dining, whether you want to develop more lighter formula, there is an optimum location for these different segments, and hence the need to work closely with the landlords and the airports in order to really work with them on where to locate these different formulas. For sure, we see an increasing interest to try to mix location, food service and retail in order to create a more interesting environment for travelers.
And of course, you're already doing this to some degree in regards to a different concept, and that's using convenience and trying to incorporate more of a walkthrough element into some of your stores there, but also the wider plan is to hopefully integrate that in terms of the wider duty-free offer. So just give us a little bit of background on Relay particularly, and how the walkthrough concept is developing.
It goes back to what I was saying, is how do we think consumers and how do we adapt the way stores are organized to the consumer needs. So again, depending on the location, Relay can be a separate, and it makes sense that Relay as a separate store, inline store, or to organize it as a walkthrough. So we have very successful walkthrough relays in Italian airports especially, where we have first a Relay walkthrough and then Alia duty-free walkthrough. And we are testing now actually new formulas where we are integrating Relay corners or Relay offer, so convenience offer, within a larger duty-free store. So that again we have different formulas depending on the specific location or specific environments.
And early next year, obviously, we're going to witness further developments at Paris airports, CDG and Orly, in regards to the Terminal 2E, and I believe it's 2EL that will benefit from the renovations. Just bring us up to date on the developments there and how sort of the communication is playing out with your partners.
So Paris is actually it's a very exciting time for Paris Airport today, because Paris is about to we are about to renovate close to 16,000 square meters of retail space over the next 2 years, with major projects in 2019. So yes, 2EL, where we'll be opening both new walk-through store for the core categories as well as fashion stores. But also another very exciting project in Orly with a new terminal joining Orly South and Orly West, where again we are redeveloping new retail space with a walk-through and then with a fashion and specialty concepts. And in 2020, new projects, CDG1, Orly South International, and Terminal 2 BD. So very, very exciting times in Paris for the months to come.
We will look forward to tracking those developments with interest. So final question, Dag, to you. Obviously the Trinity model has been under pressure, or the discussion has been that it is under pressure. I just wanted to get your take on a situation where, if we're still unable to find a solution, as some of the associations might say, we may find ourselves in a situation where there will be an unsustainable impact on the business for the landlords, the operators, and the brands. What would you like to see change next year to readdress this foreseeable imbalance?
Well, yeah, it's more a question of imbalance than unsustainability. I mean, globally the business is growing, the pie is growing, so it's really about what business model is most efficient. There can be different business models. I think it's really, it has to do with partnering together. There's some flexibility. Things are changing so quickly that we cannot rely on old paradigms. For instance, the famous MAG per passenger, minimum rent per passenger, was there initially to protect retailers against the fall in traffic. So it meant that when traffic fell by 10%, our rent would fall by 10%. Now the problem is that with the development of, for instance, low-cost passengers, the sales do not increase at the same speed as the number of passengers, which puts us under pressure. So I think that sometimes we just should be reasonable and go back to the fundamentals. A minimum guaranteed makes sense, because airport has to be protected, but not necessarily have a maximization on all items. What I believe is that the airport has debts, has financing plans. They should say, I need a MAG, and that's the level of MAG I would need. They could even, and some airports do, they said the percentage rent, that's what I need. And now, fight on the commercial. Today, when we answer tenders, 80% of the time is on the financial part. It doesn't make sense. If you want to grow the pie, spend 80% on the commercial aspect. And that's where we can make money. Be more innovative. Try things. If you fail, you change. Don't be in contracts which don't allow you to move to optimize. What we want for this industry is to optimize it for the benefit of the passenger first, and globally for the industry, for the brands, for the airports, and obviously for us.
Of course. Dag Rasmussen, Ambroise Fondeur, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.